Hi, everyone. Welcome to Randomness, the cozy corner for all things weird, deep, and wonderfully unexpected. I am your host, Brittany. So grab a drink, get comfy, and let's talk. Today, I want to talk about something that a lot of us struggle with: perfectionism. That constant pressure to get everything right, to never mess up, to always look like you have it together. And I'm not talking about just wanting to do well at things. I'm talking about that voice in your head that says, this isn't good enough, no matter how hard you try. The one that keeps you from starting things because what if it doesn't turn out perfect? The one that makes you redo things over and over until you're exhausted. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. And perfectionism isn't really about being perfect. It's about being safe. It's about avoiding criticism, rejection, failure, shame. It's a protection mechanism that we think is helping us, but is actually keeping us stuck. So let's talk about where this comes from, why it's actually sabotaging us, and how to start letting it go. Because you don't have to be perfect. You really, really don't. So let's get into it. So, first, let's be clear about what we're talking about. Perfectionism isn't about having high standards or wanting to do good work. There's nothing wrong with excellence or caring about quality. Perfectionism is when your self worth is tied to your performance. It's when good enough never feels good enough. It's when the fear of making a mistake is so strong that it paralyzes you. It's that voice that says, if I can just get this perfect, then I'll be worthy. Then people will love me. Then I'll be safe. But here's the trap: perfect doesn't exist. So you're chasing something you can never actually catch, which means you never get to feel worthy, loved, or safe. You just keep pushing yourself harder and harder, thinking maybe next time will be the time you finally get it right. It's exhausting, and it's a setup for constant disappointment. And most perfectionism starts in childhood. And I know, everything comes back to childhood, right? But really, maybe you grew up with parents who only praised you when you achieved something. So you learned that love and approval are conditional. You have to earn them. Or maybe you were criticized a lot and you learned that making mistakes means you're going to get hurt. So you started trying to be perfect to avoid that pain. Maybe you were the smart one or responsible one, and that became your identity. And now you feel like if you mess up, you'll lose who you are. Or maybe you grew up in an unstable environment and being perfect was the one thing you could control. If you could just do everything right, maybe things would be okay. For some people, it comes from societal pressure, the pressure to be the perfect woman, beautiful, successful, nurturing, never too much or too little, or the pressure to be the perfect man, strong, smart, always in control, never vulnerable. And social media definitely does not help. We are constantly seeing everyone's highlight reel, their perfect moments, their curated lives. And we're comparing our messy behind the scenes to their polished final product. Perfectionism doesn't always look the same for everyone. Let me break down some of the ways it shows up. Okay, so you have the overachiever, and this is the person who's always striving, always doing more, always pushing themselves. They look successful on the outside, but inside they are terrified that if they stop, people will realize they're not actually that great. They can't rest because rest feels like falling behind. Then there's the procrastinator. Wait, what? Yeah, procrastination is often perfectionism in disguise. If you never finish something, it can never be judged. If you wait until the last minute, you have a built in excuse if it's not perfect. It's a protection mechanism. How about the people pleaser? They need everyone to like them, so they shapeshift to be whatever they think people want. They avoid conflict at all costs. They can't say no because if everyone's happy with them, they must be doing it right. The all or nothing thinker. If they can't do it perfectly, they won't do it at all. If they slip up on their diet, the whole day is ruined. If they miss one workout, why bother with the rest of the week? There's no room for middle ground or progress. So it's perfect or it's failure. Then there's the controller. They need everything to be just so. Plans, routines, their environment. Because if they can control everything, nothing bad will happen. Except life is not controllable. So they're constantly stressed. Do any of these sound familiar? Most of us have like a mix of these patterns. Here's the hard truth. Perfectionism doesn't make you better, it makes you stuck. When you are so afraid of making mistakes that you don't take risks, you don't try new things, you stay in your comfort zone, even when it's miserable, because at least you know you can do it right. Perfectionism kills creativity because creativity requires experimentation, which means failure, which perfectionism can't tolerate. It ruins relationships because you either expect too much from other people or you're so busy trying to be perfect that you never let anyone see the real you. And if they don't see the real you, they can't actually love you. They're just loving the performance. It makes you miserable. The constant pressure, the constant criticism from yourself, the constant feeling of not being enough. It's just a recipe for anxiety and depression. And honestly, it's lonely because when you're trying to be perfect, you're essentially putting up a wall. You're saying, I can't let you see my mess, my struggles, my humanity. And that keeps real connection at bay. Okay, so here's how perfectionism usually works. You make a mistake or something doesn't go perfectly. Instead of just acknowledging it and moving on, you spiral. You know, I messed up. I'm such an idiot. I always do this. I can't do anything right. Everyone's going to think I'm incompetent. I'm a failure. See how it escalates? It goes from like a small mistake to a complete identity crisis in like 3 seconds. And then the shame kicks in. You feel so bad about yourself that you either shut down completely or you double down on the perfectionism, thinking if you try harder next time, you won't feel this way again. But you will, because perfectionism creates shame and shame fuels perfectionism. It's just a damn vicious cycle. Okay, so how do we actually start releasing this? Because knowing that it's bad for you and actually stopping it are two different things. Recognize it for what it is. Start noticing when perfectionism is running the show, when you're redoing something for the fifth time. Ask yourself, is this actually making it better or am I just scared? When you're procrastinating, ask, am I avoiding this because I'm afraid it won't be perfect? Just the awareness helps. You can't change what you don't see. Separate your worth from your performance. This is the big one. You are not your achievements. You are not your mistakes. You're a whole person with inherent value that has nothing to do with what you produce or accomplish. And I know that's hard to believe if you spend your whole life thinking the opposite, but start practicing it. Remind yourself, I'm worthy because I exist, not because of what I do. Embrace the good enough. This is revolutionary for perfectionists. Good enough is actually enough. It doesn't have to be perfect to be valuable. It doesn't have to be flawless to matter. Try deliberately doing things imperfectly. Send the email with a typo, post the photo that's not perfectly edited. Submit the project that's good but not perfect and see what happens. Spoiler alert, the world doesn't end, okay? Practice self-compassion. When you mess up, and you will because you're human, talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend, with kindness, with understanding, not with that harsh inner critic that perfectionism loves to use. Yeah, that didn't go great, but it's okay. I'm learning. I'm human. Reframe failure. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of success. Every successful person has failed a million times. The difference is they didn't let perfectionism stop them from trying again. So start seeing mistakes as information. Okay, that didn't work. What can I learn from this? Set realistic standards. High standards are fine, whatever. Impossible standards are not. So ask yourself, is this expectation realistic? Would I expect this from someone else? If your best friend did what you just did, would you tell them they failed? Or would you tell them they did great? Try giving yourself the same grace and take imperfect action. Don't wait until you're ready or until it's perfect. Just start. Messy action beats perfect inaction every single time. The only way to prove to yourself that you can survive imperfection is to be imperfect and see that you're still okay. Here's what's on the other side of perfectionism. Freedom. The freedom to try things without knowing if they'll work out. The freedom to be yourself without worrying what everyone thinks. The freedom to rest without feeling guilty. The freedom to be loved for who you actually are, not for what you achieve. When you let go of perfectionism, you get your life back. You get your creativity back. You get your joy back. You realize that messy and perfect version of you is actually way more interesting and lovable than the perfect version you were trying to be. People don't connect with perfect. They connect with real, with vulnerable, with human. So maybe the goal isn't to be perfect. Maybe it's to be whole, to be authentic, to be brave enough to show up as you are and trust that that's enough because it is. You are. If you are a recovering perfectionist, be patient with yourself. You're literally rewiring patterns that have been there for years or longer. You're going to slip back into perfectionism sometimes, and that's okay. That's part of the process. Don't let it ruin your recovery from perfectionism. How ironic would that be, right? Just notice when it happens, be kind to yourself, and keep practicing. And little by little, it gets easier. Little by little, you start to believe that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy. And that's when everything changes. Yeah, so if you're struggling with this, I see you. I know how hard it is. I know how much energy it takes to keep up that perfect facade. And I want you to know that you can put it down. You don't have to carry that anymore. You're allowed to be imperfect. You're allowed to mess up. You're allowed to be a work in progress. That doesn't make you less valuable. It makes you human. And human is beautiful. All right, y'all. That is it for today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Until next time, stay grounded, stay kind, and stay curious.